We've all done some things we're not proud of on business trips, but Vince Vaughn, Dave Franco, and Tom Wilkinson are taking the business trip to another level. Check out the brand new trailer for the R-rated comedy Unfinished Business. It's the story of a hardworking small business owner, Vince Vaughn, and his two associates, Tom Wilkinson and Dave Franco, who travel to Europe to close the most important deal of their lives. But what began as a routine business trip goes off the rails in every imaginable and unimaginable way, including unplanned stops at a massive sex fetish event and a global economic summit. Plus, it's got Dave Franco's naked ass and Tom Wilkinson smoking pot. Awesome! Search Unfinished Business Movie to watch the Red Band trailer. It's online now. With the holidays almost here, you don't have time to go to the post office. Traffic, parking, all those weird smelly people in line in front of you. Listen, it's going to be packed with everyone mailing holiday gifts and packages, so do what I do. My name is Jay Mohr, and I use Stamps.com. With Stamps.com, you can avoid all the hassle of going to the post office during the busy holiday season. Everything you would do at the post office, you can do right from your desk. Buy and print official U.S. postage using your computer, your printer. Print postage for any letter or package the instant you need it. Then the mailman just picks it up. It's easy. It's convenient. I use Stamps.com. You should too. There's a reason we keep talking about Stamps.com. It's because it's awesome. Right now, get this special offer when you use my last name, Mohr, M-O-H-R. If you don't know how to spell my name right now, seriously, what are we doing talking right now? $110 bonus offer. That includes a digital scale and up to $55 free postage. Don't wait. Go to Stamps.com before you do anything else. Click on the microphone at the top of the homepage. Type in Mohr. Stamps.com. Enter Mohr. Mazel.
Put your name on it. Just put your name on it. That's all I say. Be a man or a woman. Put your name on it.
Well, I'd like to hear about it, potheads.
How the fuck you gonna know how to be great if you don't study greatness? Look at the game tape.
Donuts.
If you want a battle, it's either that you will or you won't.
You know, you're not a bad-looking man, Mr. Gals.
But you are, Blanche. You are in that chair.
There's something wrong with us. Something very, very wrong with us.
Hey, man!
More Stories podcast. Henry Rollins. I was just explaining to Henry, this isn't an interview. We just sit, we hang out, we talk. That's why we're in a damn garage. We call it Fake Mustache Studios, but as you can see, there's just like toys and like ellipticals and photos on the wall. And I said I could put you next to our mutual friend Damien Eccles, 18 years, 17 days on death row for crying out loud, or MC5's Wayne Kramer. And I told you Wayne Kramer just had a baby, and your response was the same as mine. Really?
Yeah, he's an old dude to be a new dad. But I've known Wayne a long time. And I was an MC5 fan as soon as I heard the band. And he wrote me a letter. I was in a band called Black Flag. And we were living in Redondo Beach. And I get this letter. He goes, "Hey, it's Wayne Kramer. You guys are really cool." And I showed it to everyone in the band. I said, "Check this out. Brother Wayne Kramer wrote us, whatever." And we were all, pretty impressed because that's a band that meant a lot to us, And he moved to California at some point, and we got in contact, and we lived like 5 blocks from each other. So we just would hang out. I'd pick him up. We'd drive around in my car, and, he had all these great stories, like, playing with Hendrix, playing with Sun Ra, with the Stooges, with the Amboy Dukes. I mean, he was there. And all that music history is so fascinating to me, especially when the people were, it's interesting to talk to a journalist or a punter, someone who's there, but like talk to someone who's in one of those bands who still has all his brains. I mean, like Wayne is articulate, and he has a memory like a steel trap. And it's cool to be able to have that, with someone from such a time of music where I find it to be also that era of music in America is so incredible to me.
But here's where I sit, Henry. I'm talking to a guy, like you have the same stories to me that Wayne had for you. Like Black Flag, one of my all-time favorite punk bands, or just bands in general.
I mean, HR let you sing with Bad Brains.
Yeah.
Like Bad Brains is my all-time go-to DC hardcore band.
Yeah.
And like you've sang, you did cuts with the Misfits, and you've done you had the Henry Rollins show. I used to watch your interview show, and I'm like, that's what I want to do. I want to do what Henry's doing. So like you have the exact same stories. How Wayne was for you, like the fact that I'm sitting here with you.
Oh, thanks.
I mean, he never sang with Bad Brains. What does he know, Wayne?
Yeah.
Hey, Wayne, take a back seat. This is Henry's show. You and I have met before, and you wanted to talk about it off mic. I'm like, no, save it for Mike, because it was so bizarre.
Yeah, well, it bugs me.
Why?
Well, because for the slightest chance that you would ever think I was perhaps being rude, and you just caught me off guard. I was in the lobby of that theater, wherever it was, somewhere in Manhattan.
It was in Chelsea. Quick backstory. Damien Eccles, a mutual friend of mine, and of course, well, you championed very hard to help get Damien Eccles
I was
out
one
of jail.
Of many people, yeah.
And we were, after Damien did the podcast, he said, and his wife said, why don't you come down? We're doing West of Memphis screening. And it was odd. It was like 11 in the morning.
Yep.
And it was in
Very
Chelsea.
early.
I walk into the lobby, and I think I'm hot shit. And right there, first person I see, it's Henry fucking Rollins. Holy shit. And I go up, I go, hey, Henry J. Mohr, it's nice to meet you. And you took your hand and you kind of gave me like the Ray Liotta and Goodfellas, like limp handshake at the country club.
I did?
And you just kind of stared me down, and I just walked away like, wow. Well, all right.
Okay. I
still listen to Black Flag every day.
It just caught me by surprise. I was just like milling around waiting for this thing to start.
Yeah.
And this guy walks up, hey, Henry, Jay Mohr. And I was like, okay. And you walked away. I was like, whoa, how's Jay Mohr? And like, damn, I blew that. Like, I really screwed that up. And you were gone. And I've never forgotten it. And then weeks ago, when we trying to get our schedules to sync up, I was like, I really want to make that right. Well, no, I don't like being rude to anybody.
You weren't rude.
Well, I know, but it was just I kind of noticed it about 4 seconds after you left. I was like, wow, that was Jay Mohr. Oh, damn. I would have liked to have said hello and, talked to you for a second.
I thought I was saving you from, there were some psychophants just kind of milling about the Henry Rollins. There was a couple satellites around you, and I thought, you know what, I'm gonna cut through. He probably maybe doesn't want to talk to these people at 11 in the morning with the, just people going like, remember that time when you sang with the Teen Idols? That was weird,
that was
right?
Weird. Remember
and
that time
then
when you ate the,
I was like, hey, we both, and I would have segued into the Damien Eccles stuff, but you just kind of gave me like a blank stare, like, who gives a shit?
Yeah, damn.
And I don't want it to be like, oh, it was Jay Mohr. Like, I don't give a shit about that at all. I was just like...
Well, I did. I was like, 'cause I'm a fan. And you walked in, I was like, oh, man, damn. And I was just kind of half awake. And in a lot of times in those situations when you're just like kind of when I'm standing around waiting, because I know I'm going to have to talk at the end of this thing, and I'm there with Damien and Lori, and it's going to be a thing, and Amy, the producer, the director was there, and I'm just kind of feeling a little bit of that, and I'm not always ready for anything else that might come up, and so anyway, I'm glad we got it together.
Brother, we're good.
Yeah.
I love it. You'll be very happy to know. I played Nervous Breakdown by Black Flags in the car, and I have a 3-year-old in the car seat, and I look behind me, and he was completely thrashing in his car seat. And I tweeted about it. And it got like 400 retweets. People were like, yeah, getting them started right. But I can't listen on my iPhone plugged into the charger and film at the same time.
Oh, right.
Otherwise, I think it would have been like viral. Because like, I don't know what a 3-year-old, that primal need to get it out. And he knew that, let's listen, let's get it out. And it was, we were listening to Black Flag.
You should always have the GoPro around for a kid, because they move. And GoPros are very, you can move with a kid who's now ambulatory.
Yeah.
Because they're just like, they never stop. Yeah, those early Black Flag songs, it was an era before I was in the band, so I have no claim to any of it. It's Greg Ginn's genius. But boy, those songs are really unimpeachable. Like, you hear them 30 years later, 30-some years later, and you'll never probably do anything that good with your new band, whatever, some kiddo in a garage. Like, you put that record on, you're like, aspire to that. You don't need to play like it, but play something that is that awesome. Because that Nervous Breakdown EP it's like 7 minutes, 4 songs.
Yeah.
It's perfect. There's nothing wrong with it.
This is what I want to ask you specifically about punk. like punk when it was happening was dangerous. Nobody would play it. And then when you go back and you listen to Misfits, when you listen to Black Flag, when you listen to like Agent Orange or whatever, 7 Seconds, anybody, they're really not like crazy batshit songs. They're kind of like melodically, they follow a very, it's a very easy rhyme scheme, and there's really nothing illicit or crazy. The message is like, we don't like this and we want this to change. But it's amazing now when you go back and listen, and I encourage all the listeners, just go back, any punk thing you can listen to that you used to listen to, re-listen to it. Why was it so shunned? Why was punk? What was everybody so afraid of?
Right. I think it was a hip check to law enforcement, teachers, parents, etc. And so I noticed very quickly when I joined Black Flag and I got in an international touring band that had a big reputation, going from my little band in D.C. to this band that it was already years in the – I didn't make them big. They were already on their own big. I joined a few years in. I was the fourth singer in that band. And so by the time I joined, they were already kind of this rip-roaring industry of danger. But what I noticed very quickly was we weren't dangerous. We were just like these starving, broke musicians. The cops were dangerous. They're coming to the shows. They're punching people. They're hitting women. There's people with broken hands from the Billy Club. And I said, a cop would do that? And my bandmates, they said, man, you better wake up and you figure this out. And so I found that the hype was bigger than anything we were doing. Like we would get protested by churches. They'd come and picket our shows, kind of like a Westboro thing, but without the signs. They would just kind of be there in the afternoon. And, this band is in league with Satan. We're starving. Because in those days you're getting like $375 a night and a punch in the mouth, and you're like limping to the next town. That's how indie bands toured in those days. And every venue kind of smelled like the broken men's room. I mean, it was raw. All
written perfectly and get in the van, by the way.
Right. Well, that's how them days were. And so we would think to ourselves, it was funny, like you're in league with Satan. Like, really? Let's find Satan because we'll barbecue him and eat him. We're that hungry. And most of us are vegetarian anyway. So if Satan was made out of tofu, even our guitar player could eat. And we were so harmless. Like, we're not going to break into your house. We're not the guy who's going to mug you. We're not the problem. But everyone believes that we are from what the cops in Channel 7 are saying. And rarely would you get a chance to speak to the media without them saying, so how many times have you killed your dad? And like you could never have a rational discussion. And so you were just misconstrued as like just some idiot. And certainly we're not rocket scientists, but we can form sentences, and we were about something. And so you had
What were you about?
Well, we're trying to make some music. We're trying to get somewhere. And we had a point of view. So we weren't criminal-minded. We might have had some opinions that might have made law enforcement tremble a little. But that's what young people are wanted to do. But it was just hard to get an opportunity where you could finish a paragraph without someone butting in and saying, but you eat kids, right?
Right.
And it just became this almost unreal thing where like you just said, screw everybody. Because sometimes the audience, I got scars all over my body. Cigars, cigarettes, fists with rings, feet, ashtrays, cans, bottles. I had multiple sutures all over my head, my eyebrows. If you shaved them, you'd see striped scars from like hits and whatever. Multiple trips to the hospital, knocked out cold on stage. And people would think, well, look at Henry's testicles. They must be cold. Let's warm them up with our lighters. And people would just like light you on fire.
And these are the fans.
Yeah, and these are the people who paid $6.50 to come in. So these are supposed to be your friends. And so at a certain point in that band, it hit such a pitch where you kind of distrusted anyone who came near you. And it took me a lot of years to walk that off to where I could be cool around people. And it's a reputation to this day. I'm 53, and this is like half my life ago I was in that band. To this day, like, yeah, my older brother met you once, man. You slugged him. Okay, let's rewind the tape and let's really break that down, because I bet I didn't start that. And then when you really, he was drunk. He did, throw a cup of his urine in your face. Okay. And you did come after him. Well, what would you have done? Well, yeah, I guess you're right. But other people said, yeah, I met you once. You were a total jerk to me. And that they used more colorful language. And I'm like, yeah, I'm really sorry about that. I apologize. And nothing ruins a good apology like an excuse. So I don't say like, yeah, it was a tough time. I just go, yeah, I suck for that. I'm very sorry.
You're very forthcoming with your apologies. When people beat you up on Twitter, or if people don't like what you wrote for LA Weekly or Huffington Post, if people do have an opposing view, instead of like kind of squashing them down like whack-a-mole, you do, go the LA Weekly column you wrote about, I think it was called "Fuck Suicide" about Robin Williams.
I didn't name it that.
So it's like the New York Post. There's a whole different person just to get the headline.
The editor of the LA Weekly, and since Ben has moved on to I guess a more lucrative environment, he would rename the articles. I sent it to him. It was called "On Life," and the topic was about life. He retitled it what it was called.
Hold on. On Life got switched unbeknownst to you. By the time you open it up to read, let's see what the comments are. It says now it's "Fuck Suicide."
Yeah. And
do you ever have a conversation with this man? Like, what are you doing?
No, because it's done. And he's a good guy. He just thought, that's what I'm going to do. And by the time, what am I going to say to him? Boy, that really sucked last week. It's behind us now. And so when it was one of those things where it gets a momentum of its own. And then I wrote what I wrote. And someone said, well, I heard that you wrote this thing and expletives. Like, well, wait a minute. You did, but you didn't read the thing that I wrote. Well, Rolling Stone said you called Robin Williams weak and selfish, but I didn't.
Yeah.
And then you see that they just put that in their headline on their .com. When I never expressed anything mean about Robin Williams, I was quite a fan.
Yeah, you were talking about his movies.
Oh no, I think
how much you loved him. You did USO tours with him, and you saw him go on stage, and that's all you needed to know about.
No, he was good to go with me because I would get to a stage like in Bagram Air Base in Afghanistan. They go, "Yeah, Robin Williams was here a day before you." I'm like, "Damn, man, all right." Way to go. And a couple of times I was in Afghanistan. Yeah, Robin Williams was here like last week. Like, yeah, I bet he was. Like, that's so great. Because, man, I don't know if you did any USO stuff. None of that stuff's easy. Always worth it, never easy. It's tense. You're working 15 hours a day running around.
I don't do
sleep.
what you do. I go to like Camp Pendleton and like Pearl Harbor. I do the.
That's cool.
I do the Four Seasons route.
but at least you do it, and it's appreciated.
I love doing it.
But when you land at like 3:30 in the morning through Heathrow via Istanbul to Kyrgyzstan, and you're like, you're cross-eyed, and some highly motivated young person comes up. Good morning, sir. It's 3:50 hours. We're going to give you some downtime till about 04:01 hours. Then you have breakfast with the soldiers at 04:06. Good to see you on the base. All right, let's go. And you're like, wow. And they don't leave you alone till about dinner time. And you've gone to like 4 bases, shook 80,000 hands, and you hit your cot like you got dropped from a roof. Yes. And then all of a sudden it starts again. Morning, sir. You're like, wow. And this is 7 days, 10 days. That's a USO tour. I did 7 of those. But Robin Williams, a lot of the way I do my radio show, I've had a radio show for a long time.
KCRW show.
But before that I was on Indy 103, which is way too fun to last. You knew it was going down. We were having way too much fun.
So it's like the show action. So good, it'll never work.
Can't last.
Can't last.
Anyway, one of my whole ethics of that show, the energy and the enthusiasm, comes from watching Good Morning Vietnam, where he just hits it and everyone's like, whoa, we're awake now. And so he's a real inspiration to me. So I was never putting him down. In that article, I asked the question, how can anyone leave their kids? How can you check out on your kids? Because everyone I've met, I'm not a parent, but a lot of my friends are. All the people I grew up with all have kids, and I'm Uncle Henry from here to Tuesday. I'm all the time, Uncle Henry, and I'm hugging little kids all the time. Then they turn like 9 and they don't want to know you anymore. It sucks. They're all your friends, and now they all become too cool. And so I can't see any of my friends leaving, but a friend of mine did. He left behind two kids.
3. Robin?
Yeah.
3 kids.
Who?
Robin Williams?
No. A buddy of mine.
Yours.
I never met Mr. Williams. No, a buddy of mine I grew up with. He checked out, and his kids are like having picnics for him to remember. I'm like, wow. Because I hung out, had family dinner with the whole family, and the drawings are on the refrigerator. It's great. And he took himself out. And like, I've known that guy since I was in high school. It hurts. I really miss him. And I feel so bad for his kids. And so I wrote from that. Anyway, people got very, very angry. And I don't mind anger because I piss people off all the time. And that's fine because I think if Bill marries Tom, the world will be just fine. I get a lot of angry letters about that sentiment. Why do you want these fags to get married? Wow. Because the First, Fourth, and 14th Amendment are cool with that? But when I get that mail, they can just kiss my ass because I don't care if they're angry.
And you'll never sway them to your. You're never going to woo them.
No,
to your side.
Of course not.
They're locked in.
I would never apologize for that point of view. But I got letters from people, and I read these letters, like, "Dear Henry, I like you, man, but you hurt me. What you wrote was hurtful. That is to say, it hurt me." Now, I don't care if I get someone angry, we vote differently, whatever. That's all just kind of a BS argument, really. But when someone says, "Hey, you hurt me," that's when I stop everything. Because that's really not of my interest to hurt anybody for any reason. And that's why I issued 2 apologies, meant every single word of them, and would apologize to anyone. Because people still write me like, "Hey, man, I read those apologies, but I just want you to know that, that really confused me and hurt me." And I'll apologize to that guy, too. It was interesting. I got a lot of emails like, "You're a pussy, man. You should have never backed down." I'm like, thanks for writing.
Yeah, well, that's the internet, and that's the only people. How about the only people in this country that truly have First Amendment rights are the anonymous people that leave comments on a message board.
Yeah,
they can drop N-bombs, call you a cunt, and swastikas all over the place.
Yeah.
No repercussions whatsoever.
I rarely don't sign a letter. People write me and they don't sign it because I guess they're just doing it with their thumbs. And I'm old school. If you're going to address me, don't ask me for something. "Hey, can you help me with my high school paper?" And they write you some question, and then they just like, "Well, later." And they have a name like, Wildman 27. Like, there is no.
I talk about it all the time.
Right, but there's no. You didn't sign your name.
Right,
I'm writing
Milk Lady 420.
Yeah. To who? Yeah. To whom am I writing back? So what? I'm a vending machine to you?
Yeah.
Like you put in the free ding dong, and I just spew out. I give you content. I'm not busy.
Camaro guy.
Right. And I try not to let it offend me because I don't think they mean to offend.
Yeah, they don't.
But Dear Henry, I'm 17, and they just say they never won't say their name. I say, "Hey, youngster, you want to address someone in the real world? State your name." They always write back, "I'm so sorry, man. I just said, I was driving and texting. I couldn't, whatever." But I always sign my name, even when people who write me vitriolic letters don't. Because I always come in with my John Hancock. If I'm going to say something about anybody, I always sign it, and I'm never anonymous. And I fully expect anyone I say anything to eventually hear it. Like years ago, I wrote a thing about Toby Keith, I have no problem with. But he had that ridiculous lyric in that song about 9/11. Like, "This dog will fight if you rattle his cage." Toby, the dog's in a cage. It can't fight anyone because it's in a cage, and it's got that cage thing around it. And he wrote back, "Henry Rollins brings hate to the table. He doesn't." I'm like, hate? I'm just quoting you. But I fully expected him to eventually read that. So I would never say anything about anyone and expect them not to say, "Hey, you wrote that thing on December 17th. And I'm like, "Yeah, at 4:27 p.m. Let's get it on."
Well, you'll love the whole thread of this podcast, and the slogan really is "Put your name on it." That's that's our all-time favorite thing. Herman Edwards was coach of the Jets at one point, and the media was just peppering on a losing streak, and they said, "Well, Coach Herm, sources have been saying," and sources, and then Herman Edwards goes, "Who are these sources? Put your name on it."
Nice.
Be a man or a woman. Put your name on it. That's all he had. And then they fired him 2 weeks later, of course, because he said something logical and sensical to a bunch of fat, rich white guys. And in this country, you're not allowed to upset the obese, white, wealthy.
No. And apparently, they're very angry.
You're supposed to be the angry one. You're the punk rocker.
Yeah, but the guys with $30 billion, like the Koch brothers, they're so pissed. Tyranny. It's the tyranny. Like, really? What tyranny do you deal with $30 billion in your bank account?
Oh, my God.
I mean, you can have anyone killed. You can buy Uruguay. Where's the tyranny in your life? You can have as much pizza as you want. You can sleep 4 days in a row, and everyone will just go like, "Man, you slept great. You are awesome."
My yacht wouldn't start.
Yeah, I don't.
And then you say, "Which yacht?"
It's like, yeah, cheer up, pal. And the tyranny, I don't get it.
When shopping for car insurance, consider this. Geico has been saving people money on car insurance for over 75 years. So if you're serious about savings, it's simple. Go to geico.com. After 75 years, they know how to save you money.
Choose Shell V-Power Premium Gasoline. It removes an average of 60% of performance-robbing gunk on intake valves left by low-quality premium gasolines. And it starts with your very first tank. Choose Shell V-Power today and let the excitement begin.
Circling back around to the LA Weekly thing.
Yeah.
I read all of it in real time, and then I read it again yesterday and today, including the apologies. And first of all, I want to commend you on your apologies, because knowing your writing as much as I've read and heard your spoken word, I know if anything about Henry Rollins, you are as genuine as a human being gets. What fascinated me was, first of all, I do understand the sentiment of somebody not understanding mental illness to the extent that a guy like Robin Williams had it. How do you leave children behind? I remember listening to Sublime, and when that lead singer checked out, there was a big photo in the liner notes of him with his baby. And I was like, what? And that was at least an overdose, so you can chalk it up to like an awful accident. But when I learned, and you've been very honest about your depression, I've spoken about my depression, panic disorder, and addictions on this podcast ad nauseum, but you said something about your personal depression. It's like being your depression is like being a peach in a can of syrup, yet fully conscious. Yep. And that's what surprised me, that somebody as depressed as you have been in your life for days, weeks, months, in being a shut-in essentially and not unable to move. I was surprised this is not an indictment at all. It's just two guys talking. I was surprised you weren't able to just kind of take two more steps into that darkness to see somebody suffering to that next level that you suffer from.
I am not without empathy or compassion at all. It's just that I hit a certain bottom, and it's like, all right, now I'm just going to have to start kicking some ass, and I just fight through it. It's like kind of walking, but you're walking in like shoulder deep water. Yeah, like it's like we're walking through knee deep mud. You can do it, but you trudge. Like you may have done it. It's like paddling your canoe through pudding. It's like, damn, I am trudging through every minute. It's like breathing in syrup just to breathe.
Swimming with your clothes on is how I describe it.
Well, yeah, where it's like everything is like just writing everything is labor, and sometimes that's why I work out a lot. I just bear down on it, and so I got a lot of letters saying like, well, here's something you can read, here's something you can learn, and what one person, many people said to me, Henry, think of it as temporary insanity, where an hour later, after the poor guy's gone, if you could have said, hey, you know what, let's go for a walk, let's just like hold on a second, he might be alive right now. But in that moment, he or she thought they were doing everyone a favor. And I heard that so many times, because so many people said, I tried like 4 times. You know, the thing didn't work. The pills weren't strong enough, but I went for it. And at that moment, I thought I was doing my whole family a favor. I thought I was doing my kids a favor. And I got a lot of letters saying, Henry, my dad checked out. I'm 42. My dad checked out when I was 9. My mom started drinking. My sister turned into a mess. I'm still mad. I like to dig his bones up and hit him again. I'm so mad. I'm furious that he left. And thank you for writing what you wrote. Or, Henry, I've wanted to say that out loud, everything that you wrote, but I don't have the guts. Thank you for putting it out there. I'm sorry for all the crap you took. And I'm not around to say, yeah, but I'm just saying that.
High five, bro.
I got it from all
of course
angles, and I read everything, and I really tried to learn. Because again, I'm not trying to hurt anyone's feelings or hurt anybody. I'm really not into that. And I'm always trying to learn something.
But that's what I think is so fascinating about you and most of the people that I don't interview anybody in the podcast that I don't give a shit about. I'm not interested. There's many people that are really famous that I'm like, what are they even talking about? But you just said you're 53 years old. Learning. Like who at 53 goes, I want to learn more right now at 53?
Oh, it gets worse as I get older, actually. Where I just want to know, I get more.
But I think you're
curious.
going in inverse to how society actually works. I think at 53, people are putting their feet up and they're like, you know, I'm done with all the learning. Yeah. And you're a seeker. And I think maybe that's just like people in show business. Like we always, like if I don't know something about Harry Truman and the creation of Israel, I have to, like, I obsess for like 2 months. Like, well, how did this happen? Who lobbied? How did it go? How did he grit the borders and do all that stuff? So I just think it's badass, and that's why you're a punk rock icon, for crying out loud. By the way, I like at the beginning of the podcast, you go, I was in a band called Black Flag. You put a little question mark at the end of it.
I don't assume everyone knows what I've been up to. It's a lot of water under the bridge.
I just had you hear from Sons of Anarchy. That's all.
There you go. That happens a lot. like in airports. Oh my God, the Sons of Anarchy, right? You're like, wow, a lot of people watch that show, man. You've been on a bunch of shows. You've done films and TV, and you've had that experience, I bet you have, where there's always that one person or two people you got to watch out for. Big star on his way down, young star on his or her way up, big ego, diva, druggie, where you're like, I got to work with this person who treats everyone really awful. Or sometimes his director who yells and it freaks everyone out. And you kind of factor it in. I'm going to do this film or this TV show, and there's going to be that person. And hopefully only one. And I'm one of those people, if you're a jerk to me on a set, I'll never throw it back. I'm there for the director. I'm there for the cast. I'm there to get it done. And so I went to the set of Sons of Anarchy Season 2. There's already an inside game. They're already friends. They got their whole thing. And I'm like, well, what's this going to be like? It'll be a 6
Kurt plays it really close to the vest.
Right.
He's been on.
It's going to be 6 months of me as the Auslander. So on the first day, I'm on the set over in the valley, where they have all the production. And almost everybody in that cast, like maybe everybody in the first 3 hours, walked up to me alone and said, man, I'm so glad you're here. This is going to rock. Right on. And they introduced themselves. And there wasn't one jerk in that cast. I mean, even there's a guy, I think Jim, he's the guy with the Rolodex. You need like 8 strippers, 4 terrifying looking men with tattoos on their face with daggers, who they really own the daggers. He's got that Rolodex of all those heavy people in the back shots. He's like one guy, he gets that talent. He wrangles. So when they have a big scene of a bunch of ne'er-do-wells hanging out, that's his Rolodex. Those are his people. Even those people are some of the nicest people I've ever met. They all came over, man, it's really nice to meet you. You're like, oh, thanks. And it was 6 months of great hard work, which is fine. Great food. I mean,
it is important.
Well, no, they take good care of you.
I am very well aware
when
of this.
When you're doing like fight scenes for 5 hours and the pizza truck shows up, everyone's like, yay, because now you're bleeding. You tripped over the guy. You hit him with a left when you should have been a right, so you both clocked each other. Like we would do these big fight scenes that would take hours. And after like take 20, you blow it because it's like dancing. Left, right, fall. Oh, damn, I'm sorry. Are you okay? Yeah, are you okay? And you're both like, wow, that really hurt. And then the pizza guy shows up and we're like, thank you.
Pizza guy.
Well, it's like 3 in the morning.
I thought you were doing steak and
ranch.
lobster or something, man.
Well, just a chow. They just looked out because
better food than a USO tour.
Well, just it's nice when the powers that be acknowledge. Wow, these people are working real hard. Because if you've done a ton of TV and film, I've done a bit, where sometimes that doesn't get acknowledged, which is fine. You do your work anyway. But when someone is really considered like, wow, these guys are working really hard, you know what, let's get some burritos in here. And the morale just spikes.
It is amazing.
That is how you do it.
Somebody with a tray of like burritos or like just finger sandwiches, you're like, hey! Like even things you wouldn't normally eat.
Or just really good coffee. Like, damn, this is all right. Let's keep working.
And there's a Starbucks truck outside. If you go, oh my God. Like, yeah, you're right. It's completely best for morale.
I did Bad Boys 2 once. That film with Will Smith and Martin Lawrence, and we're in the swamp at like 2 in the morning. It's a night shoot, so we're going to go till we get sun. We got to split helicopters. I mean, it's Michael Bay, so everything is like 10x. And halfway through it, here comes the Krispy Kreme donut truck, like down this misty dirt road. We're all like, you can smell it through the mist. You're like, wow, someone likes us. And it was just amazing to be in the middle of like, alligators and whatever with these donuts right off the truck.
Well, I think it's also like growing up, DC. You were in DC, Alexandria?
Washington, D.C. No, I was in D.C.
Oh,
I lived in Arlington when I left home. We all did. We all became Virginians because when you're working for minimum wage, you find out in about one shift, I can't afford an apartment in D.C.
Right.
So all of a sudden, I'm in Arlington now. We all became Virginians.
But you had jobs, and what's amazing, and I loved, I mentioned Get in the Van earlier, like one of the biggest sponsors here of the podcast is Haagen-Dazs.
Oh, nice.
No, I'm totally kidding.
Oh, too bad.
That'd be great. Henry Rollins, you'll be happy to know, if you had a time machine, and you can go back to probably 1981, 82, you would get Black Flag and Henry Rollins and the man sitting before me. He'd be helping you with your nice ice cream sundae. Of all the most genteel, Rockwell-esque jobs of all time, you were a damn ice cream man.
I really enjoyed it. It was a high-quality product. You didn't have to lie about it. It was expensive, but it was a very good product, and I learned how all it was made. And I became the head manager of that particular Haagen-Dazs, where I hired and fired, did all the inventory, I did the money. Like, my boss trusted me. Like, I had the key to the place, and at night I would do the night drop to the bank. So he trusted me with all of his dough, and he understood that I would never take a penny from him, and I never did, of course. But I really enjoyed. He helped me get my first apartment. He still comes to my shows. And a couple of years ago, I was in Baltimore. I forget where he lives, somewhere around there, and I'm backstage. And I hear his name is Steve. I hear Steve's voice. Security stops him. He goes, "Well, I'm a friend of Henry's." And I said, "You can let him in," because I could hear his voice. And whenever I see Steve, I get really kind of, I almost tear up, because I've known this guy since 1980, and he still comes to my shows. We disagree on most things. But he always says to me, I had, because he had like this ice cream place, 4 yogurt stands. He had a lot of retail. He goes, "Henry, I had 400 employees in my career as a retail person. And you were the best employee I ever had." And I'm like, I do it all over again. I really enjoyed, I liked working, and I always had money. In that, when some of my friends were just doing nothing, I was, working. I had 3 jobs. You do one during the week, the movie theater, because you can do your homework and tear the tickets. And then on the weekends, I would do two other jobs and do the Saturday night shift at the theater. So I always had money, so I could buy my own bike, my own skateboard. Never had an allowance. Didn't want it. I wanted my own money, and I always enjoyed, learning how to rock a cash register and having responsibility. Having up to 3 keys of 3 retail places on my keychain as a 10th grader, I thought was insane.
But I think there's a real message in that, Henry, and that is it's how hard you worked. And there's a generation of people just sitting on their couch, breathing out of their mouths, among us now, that don't realize, all these people you like and all he fucking hit the stage. He was like a tiger, man. It was great. No, he had 4 jobs and he did every single thing almost to an OCD level. And yeah. I mean, that's, I can see that totally. When you sit, I've been sitting here for a half hour, and the moment I brought up Haagen-Dazs, your eyes lit up and I was like, oh my God, he must have been the best employee. And then you just, as I was thinking, you went through all your responsibilities, but just the fact that the Black Flag guy worked at Haagen-Dazs is just the most incongruous 2 things smashing together, which makes it even more punk rock. Yeah. What's more punk rock than that? That
Haagen-Dazs was known as the punk rock Haagen-Dazs because you had a few people from the early Discord bands working there. Discord Records, Ian MacKay's label. Yeah, some of the early Discord releases, some of the people on that staff were on those records because I hired them. They're good people. They come in and do a couple of days a week.
Ian nudged you into a lot of your best life decisions.
Yeah, Ian is my younger brother. He's 52. I am 53. We've been best friends since he was 11 and I was 12. We both lived in Glover Park, which is basically Wisconsin and Calvert, right where the vice president lives, in Washington, D.C. Very nice neighborhood. A lot big trees, very safe. And tiny little houses. You can almost kind of put your palms on either side of the living room. And they're now ridiculously overpriced. But when we were young and living there, it was just kind of a middle-class neighborhood, and at night everyone goes home and the streets are just empty because there's no retail. And you can walk down the middle of the street like it's a movie set and not hear a car for minutes at a time. It's wild. Still, it's like that to this day. But the prices have skyrocketed. But Ian was one of the first people I could have as a friend. I lived in one neighborhood in Washington, D.C., but I went to a prep school out in Potomac, Maryland. So my classmates were rich kids who would tip over the golf cart during the summer, and that was their reality, or get a fake job at their dad's office and just goof around and make money. And I would take a long school bus ride out to hang out with these guys, do my school. Then I go back to the city where I lived. So you don't really know the people in your own neighborhood because you never hang around. And the people out there, that's just their reality is not my reality. So I was kind of caught in the middle. And when you're not familiar enough to other boys in your neighborhood, now they want to fight you because you're neither fish nor flesh. They're like, who are you? I live over there. Yeah, and some guy's pushing you. And, of course, he's a Golden Gloves boxer, so you just have to walk away. And you're with your ears burning as everyone laughs at you, which is worse than any punch, is the humiliation. And so right around that time, I met Ian, and we both had Stingray bikes. Hey, you have the same bike as me. Yeah. So we bonded over bikes and Jimi Hendrix. He had Are You Experienced? And I had my mom's copy of Smash Hits, the greatest hits record. So to hear the songs the other guy didn't have, you had to go to the other guy's house. And that's a house we both grew up in. I still go to that house now. His family still has it. And whenever I'm in D.C., I take that route. Not 2 or 3 weeks ago, I was looking in the window of the old Haagen-Dazs. It's a health food restaurant now, but I was looking at night and see it.
You're heartbreaking.
No, it's still. I know the owner. He's very nice. They had a photo of me framed on the wall, but someone hopped over the counter, took it, and ran out with it.
Yeah, you're like a Bukowski novel. People want to steal you at the bookstores. Yeah. I used to do stand-up at the Village Gate in the Village.
Wow,
and
it's a famous venue, man.
Crazy. Like you realize, like, wow, Miles Davis recorded here. Like
Coltrane.
Richard Pryor, Coltrane, Woody Allen, and then you're like, what am I doing here? And then you make your bones, you do your thing, and then you move to L.A. You go back 2 years later, and it's a CVS, and you're like, no, a CVS pharmacy with all those overhead fluorescent lights, and it all goes out the window. I do have a sponsor. It's Amazon, Henry Rollins, and if anybody wants to buy anything on Amazon, don't go to Amazon, Henry. You go to jmohr.com, click the Amazon banner. Basically, Amazon just wants to know that the traffic came through my website. And you buy something, I'll read what you bought. Like Mike Demko, hey JJ, when I use Amazon to buy anything from now on, I will always click through your website. It's the least I can do for all the laughter and thought-provoking entertainment you provide me every month on the podcast. It's weekly, but whatever. In October, I clicked through your site. This one's late. In October, I clicked through your site and I purchased both of your books. I'm looking very forward to reading both. I also purchased a nice King Crimson t-shirt for my Stoner brother as a 2014 Christmas gift. That's not Stoner music.
Robert Fripp is so not a stoner.
No, at all. If you could read what I bought on your podcast, that would be awesome. All capitals. I can listen to your radio show in its entirety due to work commitments. Thank you from the bottom of my heart, et cetera, et cetera. Your blog last October on mental illness. We were just talking about that. This is happenstance. Your blog last October on mental illness and sports hit home so hard for me. I had tears in my eyes thinking about my own path down that road. Lastly, the Taylor Negron podcast was a trip. Holy shit. Thank God you kept your hands on the steering wheel for that swerving and fishtailing conversation. NASCAR as it raced down the where the hell are we going highway. Peace, love, and light. Mike Demko. Mike Demko, thank you for using the Amazon banner at jmohr.com.
This morning, Sandra Sneed wrote a joyful status. This miss is a soon-to-be Mrs. Over 300 friends liked her engagement post, and it got 76 comments. Sandra, you're one popular gal. Geico also has a comment on your status. Did you know you could save hundreds of dollars on your car insurance in just 15 minutes by switching to Geico? Just a way we're trying to help cushion a nice little nest egg for the future misses. Hashtag getting hitched. Hashtag savings.
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance.
Henry Rollins, you inspired me. I was 20 years old, and I read an article. We didn't even talk about like Black Flag or Rollins banner. Like, this is crazy. You got to come back because we got plenty of time. I'm just saying, like, there's so much I want to ask you about.
No problem, man.
The band. You wrote an article about lifting weights when I was in 1987, summer of 87, 88. And you wrote, lift weights for 3 months, and you did bench press, curls, tricep, do back and tris.
Basic compound lifts.
Yeah. And then you said, but don't look in a mirror for 3 months. Right. Don't ever look in a mirror, because if you go day by day by day, you're going to realize nothing's changing, and you're going to tap out. And I did exactly that. I weighed 129 pounds. 1987, I wrestled in Verona High School, the Verona Hillbillies of Verona, New Jersey, 07044. And then, my man, it was a hard time making weight at 140 because I was Jack Diesel because of what Henry Rollins taught me. I looked in the mirror after 3 months and I said, I got some fucking shoulders on me, bro.
It's a real life-affirming thing when you can change your body. Like, you realize that you are capable of doing something. And I used to carpool in high school for 1 year. We had a teacher who's a Vietnam vet, and this is the 70s, so Vietnam's still cooling off. And I went to a naval prep school, so a lot of my teachers were ex-World War II, ex-Korea, ex-Vietnam, Paris Island, West Point, and you get a lot of people yelling in your face, you stand up, all this stuff. That's why your parents pay. Like, your kid's a disciplinary problem.
Is the Bullis school?
Yeah, it's co-ed now, but it was all boys when I went there.
But you dug it, I thought.
Huh? No.
No?
No, I didn't like it. I liked English class, but I didn't like the rest of it. Anyway, I had this teacher who lived in the city like I did, so I'd carpool with him because he would just on his way to school, because we were way out in the suburbs, and the school bus is, hell, I'll rather ride in his Duster than the school bus.
Hell yeah.
And he was really cool to me. Like, when we would just ride, he would he would say, I'd call him Mr. Pepperman. That was his name. And he just, call me. His name was Dennis. He said, call me Denny. When we get to school, call me Mr. Pepperman. But we're just in the car. Call me Denny. I said, yes, sir. Anyway.
Denny and the Duster.
Well, he's like,
New sitcom from Fox. It's coming out next year.
Multiple confirmed kills.
Oh, man.
A guy from Pennsylvania, just one of those big, like, lumberjack-sized guys. And I'd see him work out in the gym. The jump rope with, like, 4 10-pound plates, bar dips, like, just the really hardcore stuff. His arms are like, like trees. The guy was terrifying. And one time, and I don't like to use this language, but it's a quote. We were driving. I think it might be in the article. He looks at me and said, "You're a skinny little faggot." I'm like, "Gee, thanks. That really bucks a kid up in 10th grade," or whatever it was. And I'm going to teach you how to lift weights, and you're going to do everything I say, which was more input into my young life than my father ever gave me. I was like, wow, someone cares about me being a young man in the world? I said, okay. He said, you're going to have your little mom, because he's a mean guy. He's like, have your little mommy take you to Sears and buy you one of those weight sets, the sand-filled, you've seen those ridiculous sand-filled.
Joe Weider bench, man, with the sand in it, yeah.
Yep. And so
sand goes all over the garage.
I couldn't even get the cardboard box of the 90 pounds of plates to my mom's trunk. The guy had to put it on the dolly and take it to the car. I had to unpack it and run it into the house a plate at a time because I'm skinny, Ritalin-addled person. I did every lift that he said to do, and sometimes I'd do the whole workout twice. I was just so into it because your body loves it's responding. And all of a sudden, my lunch tray is like a row of milk cartons because your body's going feed me. Because you're ripping up your body and your body's going input, and I'm eating like a locust, and I'm not looking at myself in the mirror because
Did he tell you that?
Oh yeah,
okay.
Yeah. He said, "Don't look at yourself in the mirror till I tell you to." And we were bumping up on Christmas break, Christmas exams to go home for the holiday. And so this started in the autumn. So I went all the way through, and I never did. And I wasn't really shaving in those days, so I didn't need much mirror time. As I swear, I never looked at myself. I did everything he told me because I was so motivated that he cared.
Yeah.
Big deal for me. A little bit of, when someone gives you the attaboy, man, it goes a long way.
That's a big deal for everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it goes,
a
little bit of it goes a long way.
Yeah.
Anyone of your listeners who's a boss or a coach, you got to keep your people up, and if you see someone doing great, you should go over and say, "Hey, that was good."
Positive reinforcement,
because it's huge.
Yes.
And anyway, he said, "Okay, you can go look at yourself," and he dropped me off. It was beginning Christmas break, 1977 or 78, and I looked at myself in the mirror, damn, there was a change, because I kept notes of what I'm lifting, and I'm I'm putting 25 pounds on every lift I had done, because when you're that age, you can just you can just pack it on. And I looked at myself and I said, look at me, wow. And it gave me my first dose of confidence I ever had in my life. Wow, I'm here, I've arrived. And it helped me so much in high school, and so I wrote that article. And that thing is in so many gyms. People write me did you write this thing where it says 200 pounds is always 200 pounds? Because it's framed on the wall of this gym that I go to. I'm like, yeah, I wrote that. And I was in a studio.
Did you write this thing?
Well, people
no,
I
know.
Is this you? Because it's on this weightlifting website and your name is on it. Did you write it? I said, yeah. And one time I was in this recording studio, and this guy said, we had Aerosmith in here for the last 6 weeks. I'm like, damn, I missed him. So I'm a fan. He said, yeah, and Steve Tyler, did you write this thing about weightlifting? Because Steve Tyler, he had me Xerox it for everyone who came into the studio. They had to get a Xerox of it and take it with them.
Steven Tyler?
Yeah.
He was that's amazing, because he's not a weightlifting guy. I got Joe Perry tomorrow. He
cool.
seems more like a weightlifter guy.
I saw him the other night. I was at the Classic Rock Music Awards to give out an award to the Doors for their Lifetime Achievement thing. So I gave it to John Densmore. And
by the way, one of the most saddest sentences I've ever heard. I was going to give an award to the Doors, so I gave it to John Densmore.
Well, no, he's the only of the two Doors.
I know.
Yeah,
That's
he showed up. Yeah,
it's
but Krieger didn't show up, but John did, and I've known John a long time. He's just a really good guy.
Underrated.
Yeah, and just
completely underrated.
Completely sane. I mean, I'm sure you've met some of your rock heroes. I've met a bunch of them, And I've had good experiences. I'm not trying to meet those I admire. I'll just buy your record and go to the show. I don't need to meet you. You know what I mean? I'm happy. Like, I get recognized at a venue. Hey, the band wants you to come backstage. I'm like, no, that's cool. You know,
yeah, we're different. My wife's like you. She says never meet your heroes, and I'm like, fuck that. We're going backstage to meet Bette Midler tonight.
I'd love to meet Bette Midler. I was raised on those records because of my mom.
And The Rose. What a movie.
Yeah.
But I digress. So you're giving out the award.
But I tend to just leave people alone, because if you get the guy on the bad night and the guy goes, hey, piss off, you're like, oh, dude, your record's now hurt to listen to. So my tendency, my instinct is just to leave you alone to do your thing. Because I've come off stage quite a few times when someone comes up too soon. Hey, man, you're like, oh, I'm sorry, youth man. Anyway, so many cool rock stars were at that thing. But Densmore, he's such an easygoing, sane, smart, funny guy where you kind of forget he's in this band that, you know, kind of helped a lot of people along. That
maybe
band's
the greatest
huge.
American band, maybe.
Yeah, that band was huge for me.
Yeah.
Because my mom was very eclectic. She bought a ton of records. We didn't watch much TV, but we bought records all the time. She had the first album when it came out. And I remember saying, can I borrow this? Which means, like, take the record, because my record player would hurt records. And my mom had a policy. If I liked any record, I was like, I like that. She goes, take it. I'll just buy another one. Any record I showed interest in, just like, cool. You can have it. Because the records are $4 in those days. So I took the first Doors record back to my room. And I never heard a guy yell, you know, on a record, you know, during Break On Through. Morrison's going nuts. Like, and then you're at the end. You're like, this guy's terrifying. And then my babysitters. You know, for a little kid, like, the end, like you're scaring me, man.
Mother, yes, son.
Yeah, of course, you're 6, you don't get it. But my babysitters all thought Jim Morrison was a handsome, sexy rock god, so they always would bring over their Doors records to play while we would sit and wait for my mom to come home. So I had Doors coming at me as a kid. Then as a young, surly, semi-adult male, you reconnect with those records in a whole other way, because now I'm trying to write songs, and you hear Morrison, you're like, wow, now that's a lyric. Damn, man, that's taken me places. And that's when right around 83 or so, I started meeting the Doors. I'd run into them at places, and like Ray Manzarek, he always would remember me, like, Henry, right from Black Flag, you guys are great. I love what you're doing. You're making trouble. Like, you know, you're doing stuff. I'm like, yeah. And then I met Paul Rothschild, the Doors producer. I met him at a studio where they were remastering Doors records. And he said, hey, you're Henry Rollins. You know, I like what you do. I'm like, you really? And he said, what are you doing here? I said, I'm mastering for CD. That was early days. So I'm mastering my first solo record for CD. He's like, can I listen? Like, you want to listen to me? He sat and listened to the whole record. And he said, you're doing a great thing here. He said, what's your favorite Doors record? I said, Strange Days. He said, mine too. You want to hear the master tapes? I'm like, yeah. He said, come with me. And him and Manzarek were doing the remasters of the Doors down the hall. So I went in, met Ray again. I'd met him before. And sat down and listened to Strange Days off the master mixdowns, which was, you know, surreal.
No bass in the Doors. A lot of bands no bass, but the Doors no bassist. But every song I hear, somebody had to play bass.
Yeah,
in the
I think
studio.
his name was. Is it Bruce Botnick?
I've asked 40 people this question, Henry.
Yeah, no, they had a
music people.
No, they had a studio guy,
and they all go, "Oh no, Manzarek played it on his keyboards," and I go, "No, bullshit."
Manzarek would play bass notes, and he would play bass lines, especially live.
Through.
Yeah, but there's a bass player, there's a session guy. He's named on the records. It's not mysterious. There's photos of him, and it's Bruce Botnick. It's not him, but that's just the name that's jumping up. No, the guy's credited.
Oh, okay.
But so there's a bass on the studio records.
Why didn't they just put him in the Doors?
Because I think live they had their thing.
Yeah,
they
did.
And you can get a lot of low end out of a keyboard. And so Manzarek would go for the low notes, which you can rattle a venue apart with an organ or a keyboard. So, but yeah, but I saw. A lot of rock stars there that night, and I have all those records. So Joe Perry walked by, and I'm like, there goes Joe Perry.
Airbox.
He looks great.
Sweet Emotion, Airbox. On Saturday Night Live, they were doing the rehearsal for, they re-released Sweet Emotion.
Right.
And there's like 14 people in the studio, Studio 8H. And I'm from here to that cabinet from Joe Perry, and just that Airbox started. And I almost like, not welled up, like, well, I'm telling you, Henry Rollins, I almost full on like cried.
Yeah, no.
And that was like, wow, this shit's important.
Yep.
Like, this is important.
It's great when you have an emotional reaction to music. The first, Iggy Pop is my hero. I think he's the heavyweight champion of rock and roll. And I've seen Iggy solo a bunch of times, and it's cool. But then many years ago, he started playing with the Stooges. So he's got a band that actually can like equal him, because he always had bands he could beat up on, but you can't mess with the Stooges. So he's got a band that hits back. So he's in his element. The first time I saw them was the Big Day Out tour in Australia, 2006.
Oh, he reconnected with the OG Stooges.
Oh, yeah. No, you got Scott Ashton on guitar, Ron Ashton, Scott Ashton on drums, Ron Ashton on guitar, Mike Watt from the Minutemen holding down the bass.
Shit off
and like, it's the real deal.
Right.
Because the real bass player passed away a long time before. And all of a sudden, Iggy's now playing with like some serious badasses. I'm on stage left, on the guitar side, standing right just 4 feet away from Ron Ashton, and they started playing, and it's like the real thing, like that Stooges pocket. And I'm like, wow, check me out. I was tears streaming down my face. And I've seen them, I saw them play like 12 times over the years. And almost 1 or 2 times a night, I'll be singing along so hard. I'll be so into it, I just start weeping. I love that music so much. It's in my DNA. And to watch them go out and play it, man, you're like, I just weep. And
he comes up a lot on this podcast. Duff McKagan had a bad acid trip.
Duff was there the other night.
Duff's a good dude. He's been here 3 times. We're just buddies now.
Yeah, he's a nice man.
Duff was on a horrible acid trip in his parents' house up in Washington. So bad that Mount, what's the volcano that erupted in
yes, Mount Hood?
No.
St. Helens.
St. Helens. Mount St. Helens was erupting in his bed. That's how bad the acid trip was. So he was running through the town, freaking out, weeping, shitting, vomiting. However, 2 Iggy Pop tickets. Doors open at 7. So from like 11 in the morning until like the whole day was just that was like his golden ticket. That was like when you were a kid and you play tag. That's bass.
Right.
That was bass.
Yeah.
And he said it was like crying, weeping, demons coming out of the gutter, grabbing at him. And the moment he walked in and saw Iggy Pop, it was like, whew, good acid trip. Like Iggy had that power on him to just turn an actual chemical imbalance in your brain into the right one. Yeah, what do you listen to when you lift? I mean, because I listen to you. So that's what's so weird to me. Like, what fires you up? Stooges, obviously.
A lot of what I do lifting wise now. At my age, I got only a body to injure. So I don't lift too heavy. In that, I need my joints. I don't want to blow out my shoulders. I need my knees. So I'm not trying to lift as much as I possibly can. That was a young man's pursuit.
You'd be a rep guy. You got to switch over to rep guy.
Yeah, and also guy. A lot of stretching, a lot of aerobics, because I'm moving a lot. I'm traveling all over the world. I don't need bulk. I need as much stamina as I can get my hands on, and it decreases as you get older. And so a lot of my workout, I'm going to up my heart rate. Yeah. So what I'm listening to, a lot of Ramones, and a lot of Slayer. Because when you're in the minute 50 of the elliptical treadmill, because I can't run on a real treadmill, my knees have long left the building. It's the Slayer that gets you through the next 15 minutes because they're just so pissed. You will make this. You will survive because World Dipped in Blood is now playing. World
It's so funny
blood.
The reasons we do what we. I'll listen to Caius because the songs are 14 minutes long.
Good band.
And I'll be like 2 songs, I'm out of here.
Right.
But mentally, it just messes with my head. You said you liked English at that school.
Yes.
Burris or Bullis?
Bullis. Bullis.
Now, Henry Rollins, lead singer, obviously the Rollins Band, and lead singer of Black Flag, one of the all-time greatest bands ever. Period. I'm going to read you something you wrote, and I want to know how, obviously, English worked for you.
Okay.
All right. If you Google search, my dear listener, Henry Rollins love quotes.
Love quotes?
Oh. Love quotes.
Jeez. Okay.
It is E.E. Cummings. It is Anne Sexton. It is... All right. You ready for this one? Someone is thinking of you. Someone is calling you an angel. This person is using celestial colors to paint your image. Someone is making you into a vision so beautiful that it can only live in the mind. Someone is thinking of the way your breath escapes your lips when you are touched, how your eyes close and your jaw tightens with concentration as you give pleasure a home. These thoughts are saving a life somewhere right now. In some airless apartment on a dark urine-stained, whore-lined street, someone is calling out to you silently, and you are answering without even being there. So crystalline, so pure, such life-saving power when you smile. You will never know how you have cauterized my wounds. So sad that we will never touch. How it hurts me to know that I will never be able to give you everything I have. Henry Rollins. Now, how does the guy from Teen Idles, State of Alert, and Black Flag, I mean, that's one of the most beautiful things I've ever read.
Oh, thank you.
My wife pulled that off the internet months ago and said, did you know Henry Rollins wrote this shit? Like, who is this sensitive Henry Rollins? What are you doing, man? Can I listen to this on audio and use it on the elliptical?
I don't think that would get you through many reps.
Basically, I wanted the listener to know this. You're no dummy, and I don't know anybody or very few people that can sing for Black Flag and hit the stage with Bad Brains, and like the song "Liar" got me through a lot of good times. Loved it. The Rollins band.
Thanks. Yeah, that was a pretty interesting song.
You want to know why? Because I'm a liar.
Yeah, it's a poisonous love song.
This is like other level. Like it's Cummings-esque. It's great. And at what age did you start writing this beautifully?
Thank you.
And did you hold it in? Did you keep it to yourself because you didn't want to like out yourself in the punk community?
No.
Or?
Oh no, not at all. I never had any fear of anything I would write.
Not after Denny got a hold of it. You didn't give a shit what anybody thought about you.
Yeah, no, a guy like that, after he abuses you, he can take on the world.
Yeah.
Anyway, I would.
Do you remember? I'm interrupting you, but do you remember writing this?
Yeah, that'd be like late '80s, early '90s. That's kind of the where I was, kind of really ripped open, and
I'd give a testicle to write like this regularly. I don't want to just write a paragraph and give up a nut. But this is insane.
I write all the time. I try and write 1,000 words a day minimum, even if it's journal, even if I have nothing to write about. I'll do 5 pages. I've got nothing. I just want to keep. I want to
write it out.
Well, just like get.
I've got nothing.
Well, just like I got nothing, so I'll write like an outline of something I want to do next year.
Oh, I thought you literally wrote.
No,
I got nothing, like Bart Simpson on the chalkboard.
No, that's like Jack at the Outlook Hotel.
Yeah,
but just to do, some days you got nothing. You got nothing to put on there. So you're like, okay, well, let's see. I'm going to be traveling next month, so let's start outlining the pack, and just to get the brain to the hand, to the ink, to the page. In fact,
you don't type; you write it out loud.
I do all my first drafts handwritten. It's a luxury.
Old school.
In that, because I can write faster when I'm typing. I'm not that. I taught myself, so I'm not that good at it. I will go for words that I know I can type out rather than the words I necessarily want to say. So if I ever am able, I do everything handwritten first draft, then I type it into the computer. That's the second draft. I was nearby where you and I are sitting now. There's a Starbucks conveniently located a few traffic lights down the road. And I've been there for about 2.5 hours before I came here, just so I could have notebook time. And so I try and write 1,000 to 2,000 words a day.
You were just at that Starbucks?
Yes.
That's amazing that people just pop in a Starbucks and Henry Rollins is sitting there writing.
Yeah, have the earbuds in, just furiously.
What were you listening to?
I listened to a guy named Manuel Gatching, who's in a band called Ashra Temple, German space music from the 70s.
Well, I was going to write it down, but you lost me on German space music.
I'll write it out for you.
No, I don't need it. German space music. I'm good, bro.
I was checking him out, and
I'll go back to 7 seconds or something. I don't need German
okay,
space
well,
music.
whatever. and I have 7 seconds music too.
Different strokes, different folks.
But I've tried to write gainfully tried to write, like seriously tried to make it work ever since I started reading people like Henry Miller and John Fante, where you realize it doesn't always have to be John Steinbeck, Ernest Hemingway, and those guys are great too. But that's the stuff they give you in school. The Red Pony, The Pearl, Old Man and the Sea. Read it, love it, learn it. And I would read all that stuff, no problem. But I got out of high school and people started saying, here's Hubert Selby, Last Exit to Brooklyn. Here, this will bend your mind. Here's William Burroughs. Like, wow, I'll never get my brain back from Cities of the Red Night. I mean, there's books that you can read that will blow your mind. Try Get Through Naked Lunch. I tried. I failed. I couldn't do it. And then Lydia Lunch, the performance artist, spoken word artist, she, in 1982 or 3, she said, you need this book. Take it. Black Spring by Henry Miller. I read that. I went, I never want to sleep again. I just want to write. And he's deceptive. He makes you think that you can do it too. Because he's so natural. And you start writing, like you really try and write it and make it hit like he does. You realize what a damn genius he is. Because it's not easy. And that's when I said, I'm going to get... It's like holding on to wet bars of soap. English, trying to make words like hit like that thing you just read. To get that level of tightness and density where every word matters. Like, I'm not boasting on my own material, but there's nothing in that passage that is not necessary to get the point across from what I'm trying to say to the reader. There's nothing that, to edit that, you would be cutting off a limb that would keep it from being ambulatory. And so to get to that kind of density and that kind of speed and leanness and finesse, it's like 80 pages to get that, and years of
you
like...
you don't just... It doesn't fly.
Sometimes
you're
it does.
like... sometimes. But something like this, is it Leonard Cohen-esque where you obsess and you work and you mold and you kill the onion?
Sometimes you're just on a tear. I mean, you spend a lot of your nights...
What I just read ain't a tear, bro. This is like Leonard Cohen-esque, I guess.
Sometimes you got it. But, you've been on stage a lot of nights of your life. Some nights, man, you don't know where it's coming from. You're like, wow, I'm a god. You just kill it. And other nights you're like running uphill. You're like, man, I'm slogging.
But I always blame the room.
But you know what I mean?
West Palm Beach sucks. I'm never coming back here.
Some nights,
right.
Something's working.
Yeah.
Other nights, you're like, okay, wow, I'm paddling, and this is tough work. And sometimes it's a drunk guy, who's giving you grief all night. But with writing, the more I do it, well, the more I want to do it, which is nice to be obsessed in that way. But the more I become accustomed to English, which is the only language I'm versatile in, the more I can work the room with words. And a lot of the words I use, I speak for a living. I do voiceovers. I'm on stage. I write copy. I write for 2 different publications. I've written 27 books. I just finished my new one today, a few hours ago.
Really?
Yeah. It'll go off to the printer pretty soon because we've been editing as I've been writing it, and so we've been kind of working in 1,000 word chunks. Anyway, I'm continually trying to get more clarity and more focus. I read carefully, in that I read books where, boy, that guy sure can write, or that woman sure can write.
I wrote down Black Spring by Henry Miller. I know all about Tropic of, and all.
Oh, Black Spring, he would probably have told you, what's the first book of yours I should read? Read Black Spring. It's the kind of the good one to get you into the rest. If you've read the Tropics, you're digging some Miller. But Black Spring is a beautiful piece of Miller's work. It's my favorite Miller book. But but digging the doors, you read about Jim Morrison. He's reading Arthur Rimbaud, Antonin Artaud, the French, anarchist, crazy playwright. And so I started buying their writing and reading it, and it gets you into Lautréamont and Camus and all the French. And I found myself reading all the Russians, and then you get into the Germans, and I read pure literature for decades, and then I hit my 40s, and I stopped reading fiction. I don't know what it was, midlife crisis, adulthood, I don't know what it was. And now I read just biography, critical biography, history, and books on government systems, but mainly history.
I tapped down on fiction earlier than you, because when I started when I read Malcolm X, that's when I went, wait a minute, this really happened? And I have no idea that it happened. It kind of rattled me at like 20 years old. And
that's good.
Once I got into presidential biographies, when they pulled the curtain back on like Nixon and Kennedy, I was like, oh, I don't need to read, The Man in the Box anymore.
I use a lot of language. Because I certainly do a lot of writing, but I do a lot of talking. I get interviewed a lot. I kind of say yes to a lot of interviews, so I get interviewed a lot. And I'm on stage talking for 2.5 hours at a time without a script. And so a lot of language for me is a call to arms. It's a thing that gets me to the stage, to a microphone, so it gets heard. So in the last several years, I do a lot of speaking dates, like all over the world. It's not necessarily stand-up because some of it's not funny. Like when you're describing, some minefield or some ruined patch of land with dead bodies in it, there's nothing funny. And so I read a lot of presidential speeches. In the last several years, I've been reading a lot of Lincoln. And if you really want to read someone who could put a sentence together, that man could write. Boy, he had a real grip on English.
And he was crazy depressed.
Yeah, and you know what? I'm wondering if he may have had some kind of autism or something. Because when you read about him, he
wasn't a well man.
He's an odd dude.
You ever see his presidential portraits in a row linearly?
No.
By the end, like his hair's just sticking straight up. There's like mud on his suit. It got cropped up like from about his rib cage up because he was out like shoveling in the mud, and they're like, "It's time for your portrait, President."
Yeah, and
he was like, all right.
and look what his presidency was. I mean, like, you get elected, wow, half the country just seceded. Fantastic. I mean, he had a really tough life. But January 27th, 1838, the speech to the Young Men's Lyceum. You can download it in its entirety, like 2,500 words. It's one of his early speeches, and he actually addresses slavery. And he wrote the speech reacting to what was happening in Missouri, where I think a man was burned and some men were hanged or shot for gambling. And he basically says, we got to cut the crap. We're going to lose the whole thing if we keep acting like this. And a lot of that speech is a lot of what you see, those quick Lincoln quotes online. A lot of them are tapped from that speech. And the dude, the man, was like 29. And you see his grip on language at that age. And I've memorized big chunks of that for a tour I did a couple of years ago. I was like, here's what Lincoln said about this. And I just had memorized some massive chunk of it. And I'm not trying to impress people with my ability to memorize, but like dig some Lincoln. Like go read him online. Go get the book. I mean, like check him out. He'll make you sane. He's like one of the most rational people I've ever read in my life.
Young Men's
Speech to the Young Men's Lyceum.
I wrote it down.
Jan 27, 1838. You can just type it in.
No, I will. And I'm down.
internets.
I'm learning from our good friend Henry Rollins. If you could play with any living musician tonight, they're at the Roxy. Your phone vibrates, and just any. You don't even have to know them.
Wow.
You can play with any person.
Living.
Yeah, it's got to be living.
Yeah, obviously.
No, we can play that game too.
Okay. No.
I'm guessing Hendrix.
Let's really keep it in the real. I don't know if you've heard of him or not. He's my favorite living guitar player. He's Japanese avant guitarist. His name is Keiji, K-E-J-I, Haino, H-A-I-N-O. Keiji Haino. And he does a lot of solo records. He's highly prolific.
Well, that's more than Wayne Kramer, more than...
Oh, no. He's one of those guys who does a record like every few months. He's like an art guy, so he's doing a record with this guy, a record with this guy. He goes to Sweden and does a record with this band.
But Keiji Haino, that surpasses all of like your anybody that you've
I've never heard anyone do with a guitar, and I love Brother Wayne Kramer. And
I just use Wayne as a tablet.
He's a guy who can play a guitar.
Right.
But I've never heard anybody do with a guitar what Keiji Haino does, and he's still with us.
Right now, there's a stoner in Arlington going, "Fucking Steve Vai, man."
And Steve is great.
I'm just breaking your balls. But that's the guy.
Keiji Haino blows my mind.
Keiji Haino, you drop everything just to get on stage.
I would, or just to watch, man. I've got all the records, the bootlegs.
It's a gig. We need you for this gig, Henry. Come on. And that's the guy?
I would, yeah. Well, he's got a rock band.
Most people say Chris Cornell. You just blew everybody's mind with Keiji Haino.
Well, I don't want to be on stage with Chris Cornell because he'd make me look bad. That dude could actually sing. I don't have any talent. I remember the first time I saw Soundgarden. It's like
you just go up and recite Link and you blow them off the goddamn stage.
88 or 89. We were both playing the same venue. I'm doing spoken word. There, I would do the band for like 5 months and be in debt. So I owe everyone like $1,700. 4 days after the band tour's over, I'm back doing the same venues, the same lap around the world, spoken word, sending them money orders from 7-Eleven, or I'm just like having promoters cut me checks, and I'm paying them back. And I'm in Belgium at the Ancienne Belgique, I think. It's a venue there. And I'm in the theater downstairs. They're in the rock venue upstairs. And we're both in the same dressing room. And someone goes, "Oh, you're sharing the dressing room with Soundgarden." I go, "Oh, yeah, those guys are cool. I never met them." And I walk in and I meet Soundgarden. They're like, "Hey, man, they're really cool." And they said, "What time are you going on tonight?" And I said, 7:30. And they were, "We're going on at 10, man. You should stick around and see us play." I'm like, "Yeah." And I saw him play. I've never seen anyone sing like that in my life. Cornell,
it's crazy.
He kind of peels the paint off the ceiling.
Yeah.
Like notes singers hit for like a minute. He like stands on for the whole show. Like, how do you do that? And they just blew my mind that night. They were so good.
A couple questions from our good friend Damian Eccles. He texted me questions to ask.
All right.
What's the single most defining moment of your life? so far?
Probably when I was standing in a practice room in New York, auditioning for Black Flag. And actually, there was someone took photos of that, and they showed me a photo of me. I might have it on my laptop. I'll show it to you later.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I'm 150 pounds of pent up anger, but
covered in ice cream.
That changed everything for me.
Nothing on that? I thought that was a.
I was no.
I thought that was a solo home.
No,
run.
I give you nothing. But they said, "Hey, audition for this band," and I said, "Me?" Because they were my favorite band. So I was in D.C. They called me at Haagen-Dazs, because I had just hung out with them the 2 nights before. Yeah. They said, "Hey, we're still in New York. Our singer wants to move down to rhythm guitar." Cadena,
sorry.
Yeah, and he said, Des wants to play rhythm guitar. You sang with us the other night. Everyone liked it. You want to come up and we're auditioning singers. I went, I'm looking at my job and my apron and my Haagen-Dazs cap, and I got a chance to audition for my favorite band. Well, I'm 20 and a couple of days old. I better get up there. So I went up there, and I'm holding a microphone in my hand, standing in a practice place, and there's Black Flag with Des on guitar. He's going to play rhythm. And they're all looking at me, and I literally pinched my arm with my fingers. I did not think this was real. And I pinched it, I look, and they're still there. And they're staring at me. I said, what? They said, well, what song do you want to start with? And I said, Police Story, which is one of the best songs ever written, which Greg would start with this great feedback. And the feedback is he had on and off on his guitar. He took the volume knobs out, and he just had it on off. So on all the early Black Flag, you hear, and then the band starts. That's Greg just hitting on, and you immediately go into feedback. And that's why you hear that sound, which is so appropriate for that band. It's either on, or either we're on you, kicking your ass, or we're in the dormant stage in a van. And I remember hearing, and the whole band went into Police Story, and I almost fainted. It was just like, this is not happening. And then I was just singing the song. And 2 hours later, they said, okay, you're in. I said, so what do I do? They said, you go home and say goodbye to your little mommy and pack your bag. Here's the tour itinerary. Meet us as soon as you can. And they gave me all the lyrics and kind of pointed me out of the door. And I staggered back to Penn Station, Amtraked it back to D.C., went to my boss and said, I'm not exactly quitting, but I'm leaving. I like you. And he said, I'll give you 50 cents more an hour. I go, no, it's not the money.
Steve never had a chance.
Well, Steve just said, you'll be back in a few weeks, and I'll give you your job back. I go, yeah, I just might. And my friend Ian Mackay took me to the bus station the next day, and I still have the bus ticket.
Again, always just that
guy.
Well,
no, he's the guy.
The best. Everybody needs an Ian in their life.
He took me to the Greyhound station, and I don't know, 10 hours later, I got out in Detroit. But that was the biggest corner I've ever turned in my life. I turned 2 big corners in my life. That was the good one. And that was a massive formative change. I went from the guy in the store to the guy on the stage full time.
And going from a Black Flag fan to
the guy in the band. Yeah, it's insane. It begs for screenplay.
I think Damien's second question kind of feeds into the first one. Has there ever been a single moment of clarity for you when you realized exactly what you were meant to do in this world?
Yeah, when I got the call to be in that band.
Yeah.
And
good job, Damien.
I saw how easily it came to me. Not saying I'm any good, but I've never had stage fright. I've never ever been nervous about going on stage. I can't wait. I got shows this weekend. I can't wait to be there.
People always say, like, anybody worth their weight in salt always gets nervous before a gig. And I'm like, why?
No, I like my audience. I want to be there with them.
I want to get out there and do it.
Yeah, I can't wait.
I'm with you.
Yeah.
I don't understand the other
Well, I think there's a lot of people like us. They're performer types. Like, we would pay to play.
We're show-offs.
Yeah, we probably didn't get enough attention at age 6.
Probably.
But, like, if someone said it's going to cost you $100 to do your show, and I'm like, here, get out of my way.
Yeah.
I want to do it. And so I remember when I was in Black Flag, our first show, when I was like the singer the whole time, was August 21st, 1981, after many weeks of long practices. Well, I was ready. And I went out on stage at the Cuckoo's Nest out in wherever that was, near Huntington Beach. And the audience, the front row, are not friendly.
Who's this guy?
Yeah, the front row. I'll never forget. One guy said, "You better be good, faggot." I'm like, "Gee, thanks. Welcome to the NFL." And it was just kind of like, right into the boards. No one's like, "Hey, it's a new guy." It's just like, "Hey, pussy." You're like, wow, because our audience was fierce. And I went, "All right, I got something for your ass," because I was not unpracticed. I was drilled because I never understood hard work until I joined that band. We worked. And I had sung every song like 60 times. I knew them. And when we did that first show, we had something for your ass. And the audience, like within 2 songs, went, all right, this is going to work just fine. And I just went, yeah, I don't believe in fate or any of that. I just believe in, you can have some really good luck now and then. And from that moment on, I'm like, yeah, I ended up in the right place. Now I'm not wasting my time. This is me maxing out my potential in a band with a mic in my hand.
It's not a job, it's a career.
It's going to be my life. And
it's a life. How about that? It's not a job, it's not a career, it's a life.
Yeah, it's a life. Because it's more than, because you don't know if you're going to have any success. In Black Flag, thankfully, none of us ever thought we were going to get anywhere. Truly. We only thought to the next meal. And because I really thought we were going to be broke ass.
But do you
forever.
think that's why the shows were so great? Because you can go to YouTube and look up old Black Flag shows, and there is such... Angst is completely the wrong word.
No, it's fury.
It's on. You put it best. We are on you.
Yeah.
That's how you. That's what you. And fury. And is it because you just thought this might not ever happen tomorrow?
Yeah. Well, cops weren't nice to us.
But at the time, are you thinking to yourself, what we're doing right now is working? This is so special. This has to work.
No.
Really?
No. We made our own records. We built our own tours. We had our own PA.
SST,
I mean, we really,
baby.
Thank
God for SST.
We
records.
really. No, thanks. Well, it wasn't my label, but I was on it. But we really had our own little wagon. I mean, we really were a self-contained unit. We had the opening bands. By '84, we had our own PA. That was built by Dave Levine of Rat Sound, who's now famous with the Chili Peppers and Pearl Jam. But
sell out.
But well, those bands are lucky to have him because he's a master front of house guy. But anyway, we were a self-contained unit. We would roll up to your venue, load it, light it, power it up, rock. We were the road crew. I finished singing, towel off, if there's a towel, and start breaking the stack down and put it back in the truck. That was me. And so we were self-contained. We never had
Maybe
any
that's
thought,
why Dez had you in the band, just because he got tired of lugging gear.
Yeah. Well, we never, after a while, we stopped letting any the guitar players lift anything. Because Greg one time was carrying, because that guy would work till he dropped. Greg fell down a flight of stairs with a guitar cabinet and smashed his hand. Thought he was okay. But he's all bloodied up. We said, Greg, you're done carrying gear. Because without your hands, we don't have a show. Yeah. My hands don't matter. So and we wouldn't let him carry gear. He said, you're done, sit down. We got this. And me and the road crew, we take care of business. But in those days, we were so feral and skinny and hungry and angry and young and just crazy that we never thought ever, we had never had the illusion that we were going to be rock stars or big or paid or appreciated or rich or even able to pay the rent. Because the last per diems of Black Flag in 1986 was $150 a week. And for us, that was like, woo, I bought a record this week. I mean, I bought some cassettes. I bought a new toothbrush. I mean, we were really hand-to-mouthing it. And when you think like that, you play with a leanness. Sometimes I hear those records, and there's a leanness and an attack to those records that you can only achieve if you can kind of feel your ribs coming through your skin. And once you start getting paid, like with the Rollins band, got very big very quickly. Because kind of the world caught up and went, hey, you're okay. And I started, within 4 years of Black Flag ending, I had a bank account. I had money. I could pay my rent. And then from there, it's been really nice financially. But there's these 5 years of there's no tomorrow. And we played like that. And you look at the photos, that's those are 4 or 5 guys on stage who have no idea of next year.
And we got to give I have to give a shout out to Raymond Pettibone for coming up with maybe the single most iconic punk logo of all time.
And the name. That was all his idea. Black Flag was called Panic. He came up with the logo and the name. And as you know, he's also the guy who gave you all the artwork. Yeah. And what you might not know, you probably do, but your listeners might not. Pettibone was his nickname his father gave him. He's Greg Ginn's brother. He's Raymond Ginn. Yeah. He's Greg Ginn's younger brother. So he's really Raymond Ginn. So this was a very family thing. Ray did the artwork. Greg did the songwriting and the guitar playing.
Did he do the artwork for all those early SST
all the flyers? Bands? Well, he did some of the Minutemen's artwork every once in a while. And Ray does artwork on records to this day. He'll be in a record store that looks like Ray. Look at it is Ray. He does record covers because now he's done everything from Foo Fighters, Sonic Youth. He's Ray Pettibone. You know, he does big installations now. He's quite famous, but well deserved. He's amazing.
Yeah, it's badass, and you're badass. I could talk to you for 18 hours straight. So you're just gonna have to come back one day when you're done traveling the world.
No,
how often are you in LA at a time?
Depends. I've been here for a few weeks. My TV show just wrapped.
Oh, we didn't even talk about the 10 things that you don't know about on H2.
Yeah.
That was the whole, that's the one thing I wrote down at the top of the page. I was going to go, Henry Rollins, host of 10 things you don't know about on H2. And then I didn't even say it until we were an hour and a half in. So I apologize for that.
It's all right. Yeah, that show took 5.5 months to shoot, 6-day shoot week. I mean, it's a hard show to make. A lot of locations, a lot of reading. And every day I'm interviewing professors and historians. So I'm clinging. You know, I'm like trying not to insult their intelligence. By the end of the day, your brain is just soup. But I just wrapped out of that. I got a few shows this weekend coming up. And then in a few days, I'll get back to L.A. I got to reconfigure my pack, and I'm leaving for...
Got any gigs in like December?
No, sir. I'll be in Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan, Tajikistan.
For the spas?
No, just for the surf.
God, you almost laughed.
Did I say Turkmenistan?
No, you did not.
Georgia and Turkey, and then I'll be back around Christmas.
Is that for? Are you going for?
Just me, my camera, and my backpack.
Wow,
I like Central Asia. It's crazy. You know, anywhere around the Caspian Sea is fascinating to me because where all the last natural gas and oil is. So Turkmenistan's fascinating. I've never been there, but I've been to Pakistan, Rajasthan, and Afghanistan. So I want to get more of Central Asia in. I was trying to get to New Guinea this year, but it's rainy there right now. I had someone was going to take me out into the mountains, but that didn't work out because I'll just find it a drier time of the year. And I was also going to go to Easter Island, but it's tourist season, and I don't want to just have that island full of people. I want those heads with just me and my wide lens camera. And so I'll be traveling.
Are your photographs on your website? I didn't see them.
There's some, but I have a photo book out. My new photo book's almost finished, and the photos are from everywhere from South Sudan to North Korea, Afghanistan, Iraq, Iran. I travel all over the world, usually by myself.
Anytime you have something coming up that it seems like everything is and I mean this as a compliment, everything is a passion of yours, and you don't do anything that's not a passion of yours.
Yeah, I get to kind of live. I write my own ticket these days.
Yeah. So, but if there's ever anything where people can get involved and people can help, please come back because the fans are. This is appointment listening, as you know, podcasts are. Just absolutely come back, and they will fill the cup for you. Absolutely.
Oh yeah. Well, I do benefits. There's an organization I work for. If I won't ask anything of your listeners, but to keep listening. But dropinthebucket.org is an organization I work with, and we drill for water in northern Uganda and southern Sudan, now pushing into western Sudan, which is a little unstable. And I've been on the team with them for many years, raising money at the benefits, keynote speaking, going to Africa, like South Sudan and Uganda with them. And they are fantastic. They're making a difference. And if you're in LA and we're doing a fundraiser, usually we have killer bands on stage. We got like Corey from Slipknot on stage. We got all kinds of people. And so, come to the benefit. And so maybe next time we do that, if we're doing a big thing, I'll let you know, and you can put it on your site and drag some Los Angeles residents to our thing.
Yeah, and you've inspired me. Like I'm a soldier in your army. Like anything you're doing in town, please hit me up, and I would love to do it.
Thank you.
I did jail guitar doors with Wayne because he inspired me so much.
He's real busy with that.
Yeah, but I want to point something out to you, and we're rounding third, and we're about to take the catcher out right now. You said about the USO tour, these guys are in your face, in your face, in your face. And by the time the day and the night is over, you hit your cot like somebody dropped you off of a roof.
Yeah, you're exhausted.
Yeah, but I don't know if you realize this. You live your life way outside of the USO. You personally, after speaking to you, as long as we've been talking, you live your life in a way that every single day of your life, you are driven to the point where every time you hit your bed because of what you've done, like you've been dropped off a roof. And
I usually try and work till, if on the weekends when I don't have to jump up and get the biscuit, I will work until my right eye starts closing first. And then I'm like, all right. But if like during the Christmas holiday, I'll be back from that trip and I'll be writing it up and looking through the photos. I will work, in shifts. I do like 4 or 5 hour shifts, like then go bug out, get some coffee, come back, eat, and go right back to it. I'll work until like 3 or 4 in the morning and just kind of collapse for a while, get up, work, and collapse. I like working that way. But during the week when my staff is at the office and everything, I'm a 9 to 5 guy. And on the road, I got to be really careful because I'm on stage every night. Out of like a 31-day month, I'll do like 28 shows. And, I have a tour bus and really hit it. And so I got to restorative sleep is key.
And you can't slow down. It would go against, you'd be worse peach in the syrup.
I get depressed if I slow down.
Yeah.
Also, I would be disrespecting the breaks I've gotten in my life. Like I'm a high school graduate. I should be flipping burgers and parking cars. I'm not putting those jobs down. No. That's good work. And you never know. I might be going back to that. You never know what you're going to get dealt. But I try and make good on what I've achieved. And that's why I go out into the world, but I come back with a story, come back with a photograph, and I tell you, because a lot of the people at my show, they're not going to get to Cambodia. They're not going to get to Iran. They definitely weren't with me in Pakistan when Benazir Bhutto was assassinated. That was insane. That happened. And so I come back with a story. And so if they got to do 9 to 5, I can go there for them and come back and go, well, if you're not getting there this year, I encourage you to get a passport, but here's what happened when I was in Hanoi last time. And so I try and make good on the breaks I got, and one of the ways I do that is to work my ass off. And so I don't work for money. I work to go crazy and to push myself. And, you get cool opportunities. Hey, you want to come and do this? You're like, damn, yeah, I'll do that. Like last week, you want to give an award out to the Doors? To say thank you to the Doors in front of a bunch of people, have Ozzy Osbourne watching. Yeah, I'll have Brian May is right over there. Yeah, I'll do that.
May. Talk about another guy, completely underrated.
And he's such a nice guy, too. Yeah, I met him before. He's a good man.
To put a button on this entire thing, Henry Rollins, I work so damn hard because if I didn't, it would be disrespectful to all the breaks that I have received.
Yeah.
There's nothing I could possibly ask you after that. Brother, this is great. Thank you.
Thank you.
This is more stories. Henry Rollins, at Henry Rollins. Hit him up and get involved. For crying out loud, get involved and put your name on it.
I apologize. And nothing ruins a good apology like an excuse. So I don't say like, yeah, it was a tough time. I just go, yeah, I suck for that. I'm very sorry.
You're very forthcoming with your apologies. When people beat you up on Twitter, or if people don't like what you wrote for LA Weekly or Huffington Post, if people do have an opposing view, instead of like kind of squashing them down like whack-a-mole, you do, the LA Weekly column you wrote about, I think it was called "Fuck Suicide" about Robin Williams.
I didn't name it that.
So it's like the New York Post. There's a whole different person to get the headline.
The editor of the LA Weekly, and since Ben has moved on to I guess a more lucrative environment, he would rename the articles. I sent it to him. It was called "On Life," and the topic was about life. He retitled it what it was called.
Hold on. On Life got switched unbeknownst to you. By the time you open it up to read, let's see what the comments are. It says now it's "Fuck Suicide."
Yeah. And
do you ever have a conversation with this man? Like, what are you doing?
No, because it's done. And he's a good guy. He just thought, that's what I'm going to do. And by the time, what am I going to say to him? Boy, that really sucked last week. It's behind us now. And so when it was one of those things where it gets a momentum of its own. And then I wrote what I wrote. And someone said, well, I heard that you wrote this thing and expletives. Like, well, wait a minute. You did, but you didn't read the thing that I wrote. Well, Rolling Stone said you called Robin Williams weak and selfish, but I didn't.
Yeah.
And then you see that they just put that in their headline on their .com. When I never expressed anything mean about Robin Williams, I was quite a fan.
Yeah, you were talking about his movies, how much you loved him. You did USO tours with him, and you saw him go on stage, and that's all you needed to know about him.
No, he was good to go with me. Because I would get to a stage like in Bagram Air Base in Afghanistan. They go, Robin Williams was here a day before you. I'm like, damn, man. All right. Way to go. And a couple of times I was in Afghanistan. Yeah, Robin Williams was here like last week. Like, yeah, I bet he was. Like, that's so great. Because, man, I don't know if you did any USO stuff. None of that stuff's easy. Always worth it, never easy. It's tense. You're working 15 hours a day running around.
I don't do
sleep.
what you do. I go to like Camp Pendleton and like Pearl Harbor. I do the.
That's cool.
I do the Four Seasons route.
but at least you do it, and it's appreciated.
I love doing it.
But when you land at like 3:30 in the morning through Heathrow via Istanbul to Kyrgyzstan, and you're like, you're cross-eyed, and some highly motivated young person comes up. Good morning, sir. It's 3:50 hours. We're going to give you some downtime till about 04:01 hours. Then you have breakfast with the soldier at 04:06. Good to see you on the base. All right, let's go. And you're like, wow. And they don't leave you alone till about dinner time. And you've gone to like 4 bases, shook 80,000 hands, and you hit your cot like you got dropped from a roof. Yes. And then all of a sudden it starts again. Morning, sir. You're like, wow. And this is 7 days, 10 days. That's a USO tour. I did 7 of those. But Robin Williams, a lot of the way I do my radio show, I've had a radio show for a long time.
KCRW show.
But before that I was on Indie 103, which is way too fun to last. You knew it was going down. We were having way too much fun.
So it's like the show action. So good, it'll never work.
Can't last.
Anyway,
one of my whole ethics of that show, the energy and the enthusiasm, comes from watching Good Morning Vietnam, where he just hits it and everyone's like, whoa, we're awake now. And so he's a real inspiration to me. So I was never putting him down. We weren't dangerous. We were just like these starving, broke musicians. The cops were dangerous. They're coming to the shows. They're punching people. They're hitting women. There's people with broken hands from the Billy Club. And I said, a cop would do that? And my bandmates, they said, man, you better wake up and you figure this out. And so I found that the hype was bigger than anything we were doing. Like, we would get protested by churches. They'd come and picket our shows, kind of like a Westboro thing, but without the signs. They would just kind of be there in the afternoon. And, this band is in league with Satan. We're we're starving. Because in those days you're getting like $375 a night and a punch in the mouth, and you're like limping to the next town. That's how indie bands toured in those days. And every venue kind of smelled like the broken men's room. I mean, it was raw.
All written perfectly and get in the van, by the way.
Right. Well, that's how them days were. And so we would think to ourselves, it was funny. Like, you're in league with Satan. Like, really? Let's find Satan because we'll barbecue him and eat him. We're that hungry. And most of us are vegetarian anyway. So if Satan was made out of tofu, even our guitar player could eat. And we were so harmless. Like, we're not going to break into your house. We're not the guy who's going to mug you. We're not the problem. But everyone believes that we are from what the cops in Channel 7 are saying. And rarely would you get a chance to speak to the media without them saying, so how many times have you killed your dad? And like you could never have a rational discussion. And so you were just misconstrued as like just some idiot. And certainly we're not rocket scientists, but we can form sentences, and we were about something. And so you had
What were you about?
Well, we're trying to make some music. We're trying to get somewhere. And we had a point of view. So we weren't criminal-minded. We might have had some opinions that might have made law enforcement tremble a little, but that's what young people are wanted to do. But it was just hard to get an opportunity where you could finish a paragraph without someone butting in and saying, but you eat kids, right?
Right.
And it just became this almost unreal thing where like you just said screw everybody, because sometimes the audience, I got scars all over my body, cigars, cigarettes, fists with rings, feet, ashtrays, cans, bottles. I had multiple sutures all over my head, my eyebrows. If you shaved them, you'd see striped scars from like hits and whatever. Multiple trips to the hospital, knocked out cold on stage. And people would think, well, look at Henry's testicles. They must be cold. Let's warm them up with our lighters. And people would just like light you on fire.
And these are the fans.
Yeah, and these are the people who paid $6.50 to come in. So these are supposed to be your friends. And so at a certain point in that band, it hit such a pitch where you kind of distrusted anyone who came near you. And it took me a lot of years to walk that off to where I could be cool around people. And it's a reputation to this day. I'm 53, and this is like half my life ago I was in that band. To this day, like, yeah, my older brother met you once, man. You slugged him. Okay, let's rewind the tape and let's really break that down, because I bet I didn't start that. And then when you really, okay, he was drunk. He did, throw a cup of his urine in your face. Okay. And you did come after him. Well, what would you have done? Well, yeah, I guess you're right. But other people said, yeah, I met you once. You were a total jerk to me. And that they used more colorful language. And I'm like, yeah, I'm really sorry about that.
Teen Idols, that was weird, right?
Weird. Remember
and
the time
then
when you ate the,
I was like, hey, we both, and I would have segued into the Damien Eccles stuff, but you just kind of gave me like a blank stare, like, who gives a shit?
Yeah, damn.
And I don't want it to be like, oh, it was Jay Mohr. Like, I don't give a shit about that at all. I was just like...
Well, I did. I was like, I'm a fan. And you walked in, I was like, oh, man, damn. And I was just kind of half awake. And in those, a lot of times in those situations when you're just like kind of when I'm standing around waiting, because I know I'm going to have to talk at the end of this thing, and I'm there with Damien and Lori, and it's going to be a thing, and Amy, the producer, the director, was there, and I'm just kind of feeling a little bit of that, and I'm not always ready for anything else that might come up, and so anyway, I'm glad we got it together.
Brother, we're good. Yeah. I love it. You'll be very happy to know. I played Nervous Breakdown by Black Flags in the car, and I have a 3-year-old in the car seat, and I look behind me, and he was completely thrashing in his car seat. And I tweeted about it. And it got like 400 retweets. And people were like, yeah, getting them started right. But I can't listen on my iPhone plugged into the charger and film at the same time.
Oh, right.
Otherwise, I think it would have been like viral. Because like, I don't know what a 3-year-old, that primal need to get it out. And he knew that, let's listen, let's get it out. And it was, we were listening to Black Flag.
You should always have the GoPro around for a kid, because they move. And GoPros are very, you can move with a kid who's now ambulatory.
Yeah.
Because they're just like, they never stop. Yeah, those early Black Flag songs, it was an era before I was in the band, so I have no claim to any of it. It's Greg Ginn's genius. But boy, those songs are really unimpeachable. Like, you hear them 30 years later, 30-some years later, and they still, you'll never probably do anything that good with your new band, whatever, some kiddo in a garage. Like, you put that record on, you're like, aspire to that. You don't need to play like it, but play something that is that awesome. Because that Nervous Breakdown EP it's like 7 minutes, 4 songs.
Yeah.
It's perfect. There's nothing wrong with it.
This is what I want to ask you specifically about punk. Like, punk, when it was happening, was dangerous. Nobody would play it. And then when you go back and you listen to Misfits, when you listen to Black Flag, when you listen to, like, Agent Orange or whatever, 7 Seconds, anybody, they're really not, like, crazy, batshit songs. they're kind of like melodically, they follow a very, it's a very easy rhyme scheme, and there's really nothing illicit or crazy. The message is like, we don't like this and we want this to change. But it's amazing now when you go back and listen, and I encourage all the listeners, just go back, any punk thing you can listen to that you used to listen to, re-listen to it. Why was it so shunned? Why was punk? What was everybody so afraid of?
Right. I think it was a hip check to law enforcement, teachers, parents, etc. And so I noticed very quickly when I joined Black Flag and I got in an international touring band that had a big reputation, going from my little band in D.C. to this band that it was already years in the – I didn't make them big. They were already on their own big. I joined a few years in. I was the fourth singer in that band. And so by the time I joined, they were already kind of this rip-roaring industry of danger. But what I noticed very quickly was, because that's a band that meant a lot to us, and he moved to California at some point, and we got in contact, and we lived like 5 blocks from each other. So we just would hang out. I'd pick him up. We'd drive around in my car, and, he had all these great stories, like, playing with Hendrix, playing with Sun Ra, with the Stooges, with the Amboy Dukes. I mean, he was there. And all that music history is so fascinating to me, especially when the people were. Yeah, it's interesting to talk to a journalist or a punter, someone who's there, but like talk to someone who's in one of those bands, who still has all his brains. I mean, like Wayne is articulate, and he has a memory like a steel trap, and it's cool to be able to have that, with someone from such a time of music where I find it to be also. That era of music in America is so incredible to me.
But here's where I sit, Henry. I'm talking to a guy, like you have the same stories to me that Wayne had for you. Like Black Flag, one of my all-time favorite punk bands, or just bands in general. I mean, HR lets you sing with Bad Brains. Yeah. Like Bad Brains is my all-time go-to DC hardcore band. Yeah. And like you've sang, you did cuts with the Misfits, and you've done you had the Henry Rollins show. I used to watch your interview show, and I'm like, that's what I want to do. I want to do what Henry's doing. So like you have the exact same stories. How Wayne was for you, like the fact that I'm sitting here with you.
Oh, thanks.
I mean, he never sang with Bad Brains. What does he know, Wayne? Yeah. Hey, Wayne, take a back seat. This is Henry's show. You and I have met before, and you wanted to talk about it off mic. I'm like, no, save it for Mike, because it was so bizarre.
Yeah, well, it bugs me.
Why?
Well, because for the slightest chance that you would ever think I was perhaps being rude, and you just caught me off guard. I was in the lobby of that theater, wherever it was, somewhere in Manhattan.
It was in Chelsea. Quick backstory. Damien Eccles, a mutual friend of mine, and of course, well, you championed very hard to help get Damien Eccles out of jail.
I was one of many people,
And we were, after Damien did the podcast, he said, and his wife said, why don't you come down? We're doing West of Memphis screening. And it was odd. It was like 11 in the morning.
Yep.
And it was in
very
Chelsea.
early.
I walk into the lobby, and I think I'm hot shit. And right there, first person I see, it's Henry fucking Rollins. Holy shit. And I go up, I go, hey, Henry, J. Mohr, it's nice to meet you. And you took your hand and you kind of gave me like the Ray Liotta and Goodfellas, like limp handshake at the country club.
I did?
And you just kind of stared me down, and I just walked away like, wow. Well, all right.
Okay. I
still listen to Black Flag every day.
It just caught me by surprise. I was just like milling around waiting for this thing to start.
Yeah.
And this guy walks up, hey, Henry, J. Mohr. I was like, okay. And you walked away. I was like, whoa, how's J. Mohr? And like, damn, I blew that. Like, I really screwed that up. And you were gone. And I've never forgotten it. And then weeks ago, when we trying to get our schedules to sync up, I was like, I really want to make that right. Well, no, I don't like being rude to anybody.
You weren't rude.
I know, but I kind of noticed it about 4 seconds after you left. I was like, wow, that was J. Mohr. Oh, damn. I would have liked to have said hello and, talked to you for a second.
I thought I was saving you from, there were some sycophants just kind of milling about the Henry Rollins. There was a couple satellites around you, and I thought, you know what, I'm gonna cut through. He maybe doesn't want to talk to these people at 11 in the morning with the, just people going like, remember that time when you sang with
We've all done some things we're not proud of on business trips, but Vince Vaughn, Dave Franco, and Tom Wilkinson are taking the business trip to another level. Check out the brand new trailer for the R-rated comedy Unfinished Business. It's the story of a hardworking small business owner, Vince Vaughn, and his two associates, Tom Wilkinson and Dave Franco, who travel to Europe to close the most important deal of their lives. But what began as a routine business trip goes off the rails in every imaginable and unimaginable way, including unplanned stops at a massive sex fetish event and a global economic summit. Plus, it's got Dave Franco's naked ass and Tom Wilkinson smoking pot. Awesome! Search Unfinished Business Movie to watch the Red Band trailer. It's online now. With the holidays almost here, you don't have time to go to the post office. Traffic, parking, all those weird smelly people in line in front of you. Listen, it's going to be packed with everyone mailing holiday gifts and packages, so do what I do. My name is Jay Mohr, and I use Stamps.com. With Stamps.com, you can avoid all the hassle of going to the post office during the busy holiday season. Everything you would do at the post office, you can do right from your desk. Buy and print official U.S. postage using your computer, your printer. Print postage for any letter or package the instant you need it. Then the mailman just picks it up. It's easy. It's convenient. I use Stamps.com. You should too. There's a reason we keep talking about Stamps.com. It's because it's awesome. Right now, get this special offer when you use my last name, Mohr, M-O-H-R. If you don't know how to spell my name right now, seriously, what are we doing talking right now? $110 bonus offer. That includes a digital scale and up to $55 free postage. Don't wait. Go to Stamps.com before you do anything else. Click on the microphone at the top of the homepage. Type in Mohr. Stamps.com. Enter Mohr. Mazel.
Put your name on it. Just put your name on it. That's all I say. Be a man or a woman. Put your name on it.
Well, I'd like to hear about it, potheads.
How the fuck you gonna know how to be great if you don't study greatness? Look at the game tape.
Donuts.
If you want a battle, it's either that you will or you won't.
You know, you're not a bad-looking man, Mr. Galson.
But you are, Blanche. You are in that chair.
There's something wrong with us. Something very, very wrong with us.
Hey, man.
More Stories podcast. Henry Rollins. I was just explaining to Henry, this isn't an interview. We just sit, we hang out, we talk. That's why we're in a damn garage. We call it Fake Mustache Studios, but as you can see, there's just like toys and like ellipticals and photos on the wall. And I said I could put you next to our mutual friend Damien Eccles, 18 years, 17 days on death row for crying out loud, or MC5's Wayne Kramer. And I told you Wayne Kramer just had a baby, and your response was the same as mine. Really?
Yeah, he's an old dude to be a new dad. But I've known Wayne a long time. And I was an MC5 fan as soon as I heard the band. And he wrote me a letter. I was in a band called Black Flag. And we were living in Redondo Beach. And I get this letter. He goes, "Hey, it's Wayne Kramer. You guys are really cool." And I showed it to everyone in the band. I said, "Check this out. Brother Wayne Kramer wrote us, whatever." And we were all, pretty impressed.